Okay, so this one's likely to be very quick. Why? Because I have a Price Smart Costco run to do very badly. I need things. And not only that, I've got no air after having serious asthma on, I guess it was Saturday. We did without air conditioning or electricity here for like 7 hours, a ridiculous amount of time. And my asthma went haywire from all the places I went trying to seek some kind of air. So these things happen. And so I don't have a lot left. Okay. If you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Tidkamar. I used to write for a place called Pathos, a daily column called No Longer Quivering for 10 years. I talked about the quiverful movement and evangelical doings, the doings in the non-denominational evangelical world, the greater world of that. I've written a book called With Strange Fire about my years living in quiverful evangelical. And that will be published shortly. More information on my website with strangefire.com. Okay, if you could do the YouTube things that like, subscribe, all that stuff, it would be great. These are just my opinions. Don't bully anybody I talk about. That's all I ask. I don't approve of bullying anybody. And why do I look so weird? My color looks way off. Let's see if I can put some little more light on this. Okay, that's a little bit better, slightly. Okay, this morning I got up and I saw they put some restrictions on Asbury. I wondered how they were going to function as a school and as a place of revival. The thing with revivals are they are pretty kind of hard to control. If it's a true revival, the true visitation, impartation of the Spirit of the Lord, then you're going to have a hard time shutting it down regardless of where it is. And it doesn't matter. Also, if it's a revival in that area, it will not be impacted by being moved anywhere else if it's a genuine revival. The president of Asbury, which would be Dr. Kevin J. Brown, decided that some rules needed to be in place because the revival and people flooding in from all over the world was impacting the lives of the students who are actually going to school there to get an education. I don't blame him, but like I said, I am very curious to see what happens next. Like I said, I've had oodles of experiences with various and sundry revivals through the years. Everything from Toronto to IHOP and everything in between. And I've come away with somewhat of a negative view of them as a result. Even though I fully participated at the time, now I can see they're kind of an emotional mugging in a weird way. And so if there's real fruit, that's one thing. There was real fruit at the Azusa Street revival that happened in the early 1900s. The fruit was that blacks, whites, Hispanics all got together, and there were no divisions, there was no racism, none of that. God made that very clear through that racism is wrong. And he doesn't view us any differently if we have black skin, brown skin, tan skin, white skin, yellow skin, red skin, purple skin, green skin. It's all the same to him. So that was what I mean when I say fruit. There's something great, a greater good that comes out of it. And I did see fruit at the Toronto thing a couple of times. I was telling a friend of mine the other day about what I saw and experienced at one of the Toronto visitations where they brought Catch a Fire to Houston, to a conference I went to in Houston. And this minister got up to speak, this pastor, and he had one of these very hog-calling kind of country voices. And he spoke about unity. And I remember looking at him in his cheap suit and listening to that voice going, yeah, I don't think there's going to be much talk of unity. And I was wrong for judging him because there was a lot of talk of unity. What happened was he started talking about unity. At the very end, he called up every leader of any type of congregation on the stage, and then they all took turns washing each other's feet. It was the most precious thing I'd ever seen. He basically said that we should not be throwing shade at other denominations for being other denominations, and that we're all co-inheritors in the kingdom of God. And I like that. I embrace that. That's why I get really frustrated sometimes when I wake up like the other morning I did after talking about this. And all of my comments and my emails are full of people going, "You're going to that hot place and you are a bee's itch," and all this just weird stuff. And it's like, I'm so sad for you that you're so sad over revivals. Please don't be sad for me. I am living my best life now in Costa Rica. I'm having just a fabulous life here. I've no responsibilities, doing what I want when I want. And that includes when I want to pray or worship or read my Bible or whatever. I have the time to do that stuff now that I never did when I was working. So there. So let's talk about these rules that they put in place. I was kind of surprised. I was glad to see that the school's president, Dr. Kevin J. Brown, was more interested in protecting his students and giving his students what they need to thrive and get their education than patting anybody on the back showing up there for a revival. And one of the articles talked to a student and was talking about the revival being great, but there are things that need to happen for the kids there. The final public evening service will be February 19th at 7:30 p.m. But public worship will continue in the afternoons through February the 22nd at 2 p.m. only. Starting Friday, February the 24th, the evening services will be hosted at other locations and no longer be held at the university. The influx of people to the campus did provide challenges. Yep, I'm sure it did, because in the article I read, the pastor, well, I don't know if he's a pastor or not, but the doctor, and I learned something today. I thought anybody had a PhD could call themselves a doctor. Not according to most places that I've seen that define it. Most of them say that if you're a PhD holder, you don't get to call yourself doctor. Somebody tell my late father-in-law, because he sure did. He sure called himself a doctor, and I wasn't about to argue with him and say, "Hey, oh, you don't have the right to call yourself a doctor," because I think that he does. If you're earning a PhD is like climbing Mount Everest. It's not a fun, easy task. Okay. So they went ahead in this article. They're talking about what a small campus it is and how difficult it is for the students to navigate with all the people flooding in from all over the world. So they're returning the campus to normality, whatever that looks like. And next week is midterms at that college. So I think that the president is acting responsibly to protect his students. And that's all well good. Let me look at the new guidelines. I read through this earlier. Seating is limited in Hughes Auditorium, and there will be a wait time to be seated. Be prepared to stand outside, potentially for a significant amount of time. Well, it doesn't take into account the weather. I'm sure the weather will impact this. We encourage visitors to consider attending one of the simulcasted gatherings across the street in Estes Chapel, McKenna Chapel, and GCF Wilmore Unit. Sounds reasonable. We ask that you do not live stream or broadcast anything from indoors out of respect for others and what God is doing here. The only guest bags allowed in the Hughes Auditorium will be diaper bags, medical bags, or clutch wallets. All bags will be searched. No flash photography inside the auditorium. Do any of those sound unrealistic or are over the top. Okay, that's an awesome thing. And I saw that starting very soon, the evening services will just be 25 years and younger. They're limiting it to their demographic, the people that they actually work with. And I think that's possibly a good thing too. Because when you add in all these people from around the world and strangers, it can really create some hesitancy in young people. If you're crying and laying on the floor, the last thing you need is some gray hair like me standing over you, telling you you're doing it wrong, or giving you a hard time for whatever reason, or just crowding you. There was something else. There was something else here. I wanted to. I like this. That is the university. Our first commitment is to foster the minds, heart, and hearts of students who've been entrusted to us and who are central to our mission. Yep, that's how every university should view it. Like I said, I'm not comfortable calling this a quote revival yet because I don't know if it is or it isn't. And even revivals that I know from being part of weren't really revivals. They had their precious moments when the Holy Spirit touched everybody. But I'm reluctant to call something that I don't have any kind of clue what the fruit is going to be a revival. So let's sit back and see what happens with this. This may turn off so many people who would have gone or are going. And they made some valid points, like being forced to stand outside for long periods of time. That happens sometimes with these things. And people get mad. And like I said, I think it's responsible that he's asking people not to film or use their or do video because the privacy of the people attending it should be utmost, especially young people. So Dr. Kevin J. Brown, I salute you this morning. And please, if you're going to leave me a nasty comment saying that I'm going to heck in that handbasket, I'm already decorating my basket right now. I have scented candles and pillows and snacks and all kinds of fun stuff. So my point is after 10 years of writing NLQ and dealing with no longer quivering and dealing with these types of people, these over-the-top hyper-Christian evangelical types that want to tell you you're going to HE double hockey sticks every time you breathe, and any notion that is against anything they've said or even slightly critical or breaking it down, you got to do better than that. Because I've developed a rhino's hide. So if you're going to come in here and insult me and tell me I'm going to double HE double hockey sticks, you're going to need to step up your game if you want to have any hope of reaching me. Because basically what I do now is when I have somebody that shows up that's using nasty words or demeaning language, I block that. And I will continue to do that. But those of you that show up to pray for me are just going to go to Jerks for Jesus, which is my website where I've been moving negative commentary for years now. One thing I have learned through writing for No Longer Quivering is if you have an opinion, there's going to be somebody out there that dislikes your opinion. But instead of actually saying, well, it's America, we can say, well, we can have any opinion we want. It's like, no, you're doing it wrong. You're doing your Jesus wrong. You got your Jesus in my peanut butter. No. Oh, my husband's in the kitchen. This is a scary, scary thing. Jim, oh, no, they're awful. I'm going to toss them. They weren't good last night. So, yeah, now I'm distracted. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go. I just wanted to say I haven't updated about Katherine Paulson in a while because there's really nothing new to say. She's spinning and doing all the usual same things, including hauling out her kid. My kid, the minute she gets any kind of pushback on anything, she doesn't take any criticism. And I'm not saying that criticism is always an awful thing. There are times when I've gotten critical comments where I've had to sit back and think about it for a week or two and then say, you know what, that person's got a valid point, and then go from there and usually apologize. But if you're not willing to entertain any criticism whatsoever, then you end up like a Katie Joy Paulson. And it's just damn boring. I also wanted to say Michelle Sabata, Sabate, however you pronounce her name, has been evaded yet again and has a new channel. And I'm just like, ugh. And films herself in the ER getting treatment for an infection and getting opioids. She filmed herself doing that and talking to Ski Mask Andy. And I think the way that she's ban evading, she's doing live streams, and then instead of just leaving live, she immediately deletes them. So she somehow has managed to ban evade that way. I'm just waiting for YouTube to figure it out, because that's one thing I can say. Stephen Anderson, a Faithful Word Baptist Church, who you may know of because he called for the assassination of Barack Obama. When Paul's nightclub shooting happened, he stood up and said, good. He was glad all those gays had died. And he was also calling for people to murder all the gays before the end of the year at one point. I was like, what? Where in the words of Jesus does it say it's okay to do that stuff? He got booted from YouTube for hate speech and has tried to ban evade, just like Michelle Sabata, whatever. And it hasn't gone well. Every time he pops up a new thing, they just squash him like the bug he is, like the cockroach he is. So Michelle, scurry back to your little roach hole and leave the rest of us alone, please. I don't care what you do, just do it way over there, away from me. Okay, so one day I'm going to have to talk about what it was like growing up in South Louisiana, because she grew up in South Louisiana and we're completely different people with completely different everything, even though we both went to the same kind of schools and the whole 9 yards. And I don't know why that is exactly. How you can take two people, raise them in very similar environments, and get two completely 100% different people. I'm going to talk about that. But I also wanted to throw out Mardi Gras week, bitches. And I saw that the guy who plays Kelvin Gemstone in The Righteous Gemstones was the king of Bacchus this year. And I was so incredibly just laughing, happy to see that, because he has made me laugh so many times as Kelvin Gemstone. And I'm having a senior moment. I can't remember the actual actor's name, but it is there. Okay, you guys, I'll be back. I'm probably going to rant about disability tomorrow, because I keep running into people that want to use disability everything when they're not disabled. I got to see that hard at the last airport. I got to tell you about that. Somebody suddenly decided they were disabled when they realized that we were boarding first. Okay, I'll see you guys later.